You just got wrecked.
What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. So today is Sunday. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great weekend so far. Having a look at what Bitcoin is doing, we are currently down 1.9%. Now, we were sitting below that sort of $3,780 level. We did get back above it, but the question is, was that enough to really have a bullish case for Bitcoin? Well, we are going to talk about that because we do have one particular fractal that has played out quite well, and it's not exactly calling for the greatest Bitcoin price movement. We're going to talk about that moving forward. We do have both bullish news and some bearish news for Bitcoin. Fundamentally, we're going to get into that as well. But today's video, I'm going to keep it nice, short, and sweet. Keep it a little bit rapid fire today. If that sounds good to you, the question is, was that little dip a bear trap because we still are putting in higher lows, or was it just a fake out and we're definitely going to just continue our trend downwards? Well, if that sounds good to you, you know what to do. Also, if you're not subscribed to the Crypto Zombie channel, what are you waiting for? We do this almost every single day, and every single Sunday we give away a Ledger Nano S. All you gotta do is drop a comment below, and you are eligible. Now, I do want to talk about one other thing as well, which we'll get into, which is essentially Bitcoin adoption. You hear a lot of people saying that, oh, we have to have it retail driven. Well, maybe there's one other sort of factor that not a lot of people are looking at that really could help drive Bitcoin to the masses. We're going to get into that as well, but first and foremost, let's have a look at these prices. So Bitcoin dominance at 66.5%. Let's see if we have any altcoins up today. Molecular Futures still up. VeChain, Alpha, Enigma, Hedge Trade, Silverway, Ilcoin, Bytecoin, and IOST, and Steam all doing quite well today. So having a look at CoinFarm, you do notice that the shorts are still sort of in the lead over the last 4 hours. However, we have had a recent bounce and have put in some mild buys as well. So we are still in this sort of downwards wedge. You can see right here, we did have a bounce off of the historic trend line, which was very good. That was around the 6.5K level, but currently we are being held down by this resistance right here, which is sort of the center line of the wedge pulling us down, right? Now, interestingly enough, Nebraska Gooner had actually mentioned a fractal. He called it the all-knowing fractal, and so far it actually has played out. You could see next he says is $6,300 the next level, and it's not just him calling for that. Several other analysts have called for that as well. You could see right here, we did dip down to the 6.5K, and currently we have been putting in a nice uptrend. Now, I do want to point out the fact that we have put in another higher low, which is good, but we did lose our original trend. And you can see right here, we are having difficulty getting above this resistance, which was the previous support of the wicks, okay? So very, very immediately short term, we need to get above this sort of $7,443 level, okay? And then after that, you'd want to get above the 7.6K, because if we don't, then we risk falling back below and potentially getting caught down here around the 6.9K level, okay? And that's what's probably going to happen if we're unable to get above this and we lose that sort of bullish momentum, right? Now, having a look right here, I do want to point out one positive thing. Even though the price of Bitcoin has fallen, you do notice that over here on CME's futures, we did close the week out at around $7,800 right here. Now, currently we are sitting lower, which means that on Monday, when these open up, we are going to most likely fill that gap. Also, don't forget tonight, Sunday night, we do have the East waking up. It is Monday. We do obviously look for these types of moves, especially with Friday having been the expiry for the contracts, right? So I would expect there to be some volatility tonight into tomorrow. At some point, I would expect us to go back up to the $7,800 level to close this gap. Will we stay up there, though? That is the question, because as you can see right here, Nebraska Gooner again kind of pointed out, as much as people want to hate on this fractal, it does continue to impress. And if you're not following him, check him out on Twitter. It's pretty crazy how it has played out. But you can see right here, essentially, if we were to follow the same thing down to the December 14th, 2019 bottom, that would actually put us around $6,000. Now, before you freak out, the good news is That's pretty much what it's calling the bottom if we follow the fractal. The bad news is it looks like it could be very boring sideways potential movement for Bitcoin leading all the way into the halving. And the question is, are you patient enough to be able to accumulate during this boring time if it does actually end up extending all the way to the halving, right? You can see he even potentially calls for, a bounce up to the 9.8K level, right? But guys, keep in mind, these are just fractals. Take them with a grain of salt. What we can look at is what we actually physically have in front of us right now. And the one thing that I will point out is if we look at this wedge that we had right here, if we look at this downwards resistance, okay, and we actually zoom in, you do notice that currently we are sitting above it. You see, we wick down to the yellow line, okay, and now we're sitting back above it, which means we're actually on top of this previous resistance, which you could actually consider short term to be pretty significant for Bitcoin, pretty bullish for Bitcoin, right? But the question is, how long do we have to wait for these moves to happen? It seems like as Bitcoin begins to mature, as these cycles continue, they get longer and longer and longer. And you could see, like Dave the Wave pointed out, from the Bitcoin bottom right here all the way to the peak, that was 192 days. And he's, basically asking the question, do we need to continue another 192-day cycle, which would actually kind of crazily sort of end pretty much at the new year, like December 31st, January 1st, and would that sort of be when we're looking for the movement, And even on this chart, this looks like he's calling for a potential $6,100 Bitcoin. Now, I'm not saying we can't have a bounce back until then, and I'm not saying the bottom's not in, but I do want to be realistic on both sides of the equation and not get overly bullish or overly bearish when realistically we're just sort of chopping around in muddy waters right now, right? Now, here's the pretty good news. You could probably take this as something positive. Crypto Capital Ventures said that Bitcoin has been down 50% since June. I think we can all agree. The charts say that, right? But there's not been any type of capitulation. Oh no, do we need it to be worse? Do we need more fear? Well, that's something to always be prepared for in the back of your mind. But how cool is this? Even another 40% down from where we are right now, we would still be putting in a higher low on the weekly. And actually, if you check this out right here, and I'm going to get into these levels in just a second, you can see that if we were to draw down, now guys, I don't want to go to this level, but just to actually show you this example live, if we were to go down 50%, that would bring us to about $3,938. Do I think we're going to go that low? No, I don't, because I think we're going to get caught by the 200 weekly moving average, which I think is sitting around 4,800, 4,900. But that being said, that is still higher than the 3.2K low, which would still be putting in a higher high, which is still technically an uptrend, right? So that's the thing, but I do want to talk about the significance of these levels. You can see that we had a wick all the way down to the 6,524, and we touched the bottom, the 7.858 level, which essentially is this extremely important level that we need to get above. You can see the VPVR juts out right there. And if you really want to break above it, you kind of have to get above the 8,275, 8.3K level. And I'm going to show you also why the 8.3K level was so significant in just a second. But you can see that we are sort of range bound in that area. Now, if we do fall below this sort of support right here, there's not much on the VPR next. And the next level we would go to would be 5,200. Just being realistic, don't kill the messenger. But on the bright side, let's talk about where we are right now. We are currently still range bound, okay? So if we stay in this area, it's not bad. Great time for accumulation. But let me show you why the 8.3K level was so important. And that's because we had a wick back here. We kind of broke above it here, but really most recently, that was the level that we had this close in September and we pumped up again. So the fact that we could not get above it and we put in another red candle was not good for Bitcoin. In fact, you could see, if I just take this away, during the bear market of 2018, we never actually put in this many red candles. Look, 3 red candles. Look, 1, we put in a green. 1, we put in a green. 2 red, we put in a green. We only started putting in multiple red candles at the very, very end, right? But we've already put in 1, 2, 3, 1 green, and then 2 more red, right? This is a very, very nasty trend that we're looking at, okay? So you just have to be realistic about that. But obviously, we do know that Bitcoin is going parabolic. I mean, parabolic if you look at the logarithmic, but currently right now we are in a bit of a situation. So having a look right now now, short term, we would just essentially want to get right above, some of these previous levels. But the fact that we're still holding above this sort of $7,370 level, short term is good. But the question is, how long is that level going to hold? Now, talking about Bitcoin adoption, right? Let's get into some fundamentals. I want to keep this video moving rapid pace. So you guys are probably familiar with Max Keiser, right? If you don't know who Max Keiser is, well,
you don't need Bitcoin either.
Yes, you do, because it's the most secure. It's the only secure database that's ever been invented. That's the technology. You fail to understand that it's a new technology that is as profound as the printing press or the electric light bulb. You're comparing it to things that you shouldn't be comparing it to. It makes no sense. You're talking nonsense.
Yeah, this is...
Look, it's a brand new breakthrough in technology. Your kids are going to be wondering why their dad didn't see the value. They'll be like, Dad must have been on drugs because he never saw the value.
So yes, that Max Keiser, okay? So basically he said that he has witnessed similar patterns previously as far as bear markets are concerned. He talks about the 1980 stock market run-up. He talks about the silver market, the dot-com business boom. He also added that the crypto market is currently experiencing an opposite trend, a development that has caused Bitcoin to no longer be the buzzword in the room, right? You're not really hearing a lot of people talk about Bitcoin. In fact, I was talking to some friends on Thanksgiving and they were like dead convinced that Bitcoin is just fake. It's not real. It'll never amount to anything. So I'm telling you right now, the real world sentiment is not that great for Bitcoin, okay? Obviously it's not that great right now either. We were down 50%, but I mean, it's even worse out in the real world. You think it's bad here, right? So he says Bitcoin is still being seen as a collectible and essentially a store of value. It's getting to a point where it will be considered a medium of exchange or a unit of account. He speculated that Bitcoin's catalyst for adoption will be rising Bitcoin collateral services, right? And this kind of goes against the idea of like retail businesses accepting Bitcoin, right? He says the idea is opposed to the traditional belief, right? He claimed that the U.S. economy is a Ponzi scheme, highlighting how the Obama administration printed $17 trillion to bail out the bankers. He says ultimately the U.S. dollar cannot compete with gold, and people will realize that it cannot compete with Bitcoin either. But we do have some bad news. This was, now some people are rooting, they're saying, yeah, like, way to go. But at the same time, this could actually spell disaster for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, especially in the US, because this might be just what the Trump administration has been waiting for. And essentially, that was Ethereum Foundation researcher Virgil Griffith, who was charged for violating federal law after traveling to North Korea to deliver a presentation on using cryptocurrency and blockchain. So the big problem here is essentially he was showing you how to evade sanctions, which is illegal. Right? Now, we all know that Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies can do that, but actually putting on a presentation specifically designed to avoid these sanctions, well, I think that might be where the problem, where it really laid, right? So you can see he's being accused of providing technical direction in order to help North Korea launder money and evade sanctions despite receiving warnings not to go. He went anyway, and on top of that, he encouraged other U.S. citizens to travel to North Korea to attend the same conference as well. So how did this all end? Well, it turns out he was arrested at the Los Angeles International Airport and has been charged with conspiring to violate the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, which carries a maximum 20-year sentence. Now, currently, they're saying he is innocent until proven guilty. But okay, granted, this was Ethereum, it wasn't Bitcoin. But I really just feel like, this could potentially be that thing that, if Trump wants to pin it on, see, guys, this is why Bitcoin is bad. This is why crypto's bad, because, North Korea and so this could be the thing that they're looking for. Could this, poise another drop down? I don't know, because honestly, when Trump came out and said, cryptocurrencies were just basically nothing but thin air, we didn't really see the price get that affected. So, you were seeing sort of what China was saying as a bigger influence on the price movement than what the US was saying, right? But, I mean, if he came out and said straight up ban, well, I'm sure we would see some price movements. But let me know what you guys think about it. Is it something to be worried about? Does it matter? The fact that it was Ethereum, will they still consider it decentralized and transpire it into Bitcoin anyway? Or do you just think this is something we shouldn't worry about? I want to know your opinion because, if the news and the media spins this in the way that they want it to turn Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies back into that nasty sort of illicit, illegal thing, right? Helping terrorism, right? Well, then it could once again spell for some bad Bad price movement, I would assume, for Bitcoin moving forward. But guys, it's not all doom and gloom. For the next year, banks in Germany are going to be allowed to offer the sale and storage of cryptocurrencies under the new legislation. So that's good news, right? Previously, banks were barred from offering direct access to crypto assets, but the new law implementing the fourth EU money laundering directive would actually change that. The bill has already been passed by the German federal parliament. I don't know how to say that, Bundestag? Sorry, guys. Anyway, and is expected to be signed off by the nation's 16 states. So that is pretty cool. And also just reminding me of the conversation I was having with my friends on Thanksgiving about how Bitcoin is basically fake and it's worthless and it's going to zero. I wanted to pull up this article. This is from January 5th, beginning of the year. But for those of you that maybe haven't read this or have sort of that difficulty conveying the importance and significance of Bitcoin to friends and family, I'm going to drop this below. Consider it your cheat sheet, okay? And you can see right here, it goes into different demand for Bitcoin, what it was used for, speculation, ICOs, etc., why it's valuable. A lot. I mean, it's just a great piece, You guys got to read it, okay? And that being said, I also do want to remind you that, tomorrow is the last day for the Ledger Nano S Black Friday sale. So if you're not trying to comment and win one on the channel and you do want to get that discount, they are doing it site-wide. I do have a link below if you guys want to use it. Does support the channel, doesn't cost you anything extra. You do get a 30% discount. And that is it for me today. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. You guys rock. You're the reason that I do this almost every single day. Yesterday, I was just unbelievably busy, guys. It's been so crazy here around the holiday season. We just basically got behind schedule, essentially. But realistically, not much had really changed between what we had spoke about the previous 2 days, right? The analysis basically stays the same. So no harm, no foul. Having a look right here, guys, currently we are sort of seeing this resistance at the bottom. We will hopefully like to get above it, but once again, even if we do get up to the $8,000 level, there's still resistance, and especially the 8.3K where we failed to get above it for the monthly close. So we do have a lot of resistance ahead. We could have some more difficult times moving forward. But that being said, if you are dollar cost averaging, well, you're probably having a field day right now because this is literally a Black Friday discount, 50% off from the yearly high. I'll take it, guys. So that being said, thank you so much for coming back to the channel. You guys rock. Seriously, my name is K-Dub. This is Crypto Zombie. Until next time, stay crypto and peace out.